What it's about is providing a decent standard of living. It's about a system where 500,000 people, the majority of whom are women and children, visited food banks this year, and William Hague went to New York last week, to get an award for work he'd done for women in Britain. How does this happen? Is it made up? And it's true what Rory Bremner says. You can't have satire on the television anymore because you couldn't make it up. It can't be this satirical.
What are your own personal fears for George Osborne's budget statement?
My personal fears are that he will carry on doing what he's done for the last 3 years, which is representing his class and his strata in society. He'll carry on cutting wages, cutting benefits and improving the wealth of the rich. He's done it for 3 years, as is his mates from Eton, and he'll carry on doing it.
They are absolutely determined to return us to the 1920s and the 1930s, and that's why we want a people's budget. We don't want a situation where Wayne Rooney went to Abu Dhabi 2 years ago and the flight cost £6,000. He slept the whole way there and earned more than that flight being asleep for that 6 hours. That's before his wage went up to £300,000 a week. I'm not blaming them individuals, I'm blaming a system that allows it, and the budget is part of that system. Now the Tories are absolutely convinced, and they know they can't win the next general election. They haven't won one for 22 years and they're not going to win the next one, so they're going to hammer us as much as possible over the next 2 years. They're absolutely going to go for it big style.
As we speak, there is one submarine patrolling the world's seas on ostensibly a hair-trigger alert. And what for? Who is the enemy?
If you had the opportunity to come up with your own budget statement, what would you spend the money on?
Well, I could tell you what I wouldn't spend the money on. Every day the government's spending 6.6 million on nuclear weapons in this country of public money, and I don't believe that people would want 6.6 million every day to be spent on nuclear weapons, nor another extra 100 billion to be spent on replacing our nuclear weapons system, a decision that they're going to have to take in 2 years' time. I think that if you ask the majority of people on the streets whether they would want Trident nuclear weapons or whether they would want to fund all the A&E departments in the entire country for the next 40 years, they might choose that, or maybe they'd choose spending more money on education, on scrapping tuition fees for the next 30 years, or maybe they'd want to scrap the bedroom tax, or to fund investments in tackling climate change, or in jobs, or in public transport, or in any of these things. All of these public services are essential, whereas Trident is a dated, pretty useless and completely expensive white elephant that most people would not want to spend the money on. A people's budget would not include nuclear weapons.
Professor Clark of the Royal United Service Institute, another top military man. For current threats is no relevance, but for this future uncertainty argument is utterly fallacious. If you told the Chancellor of the Exchequer that the Treasury should fund 20 new hospitals just in case there was a pandemic, he would laugh at you. Why should this argument be any more creditable when it comes to nuclear weapons? I couldn't put it better myself. These are military people. These are people in the defence. I'm from CND and I agree totally with them.
I think my worst fear is the same as my very realistic fear and my expectation that George Osborne will continue in the course he's been following for several years, which is to help the rich get richer and at the expense of the poor. He will continue to do things that make things worse for ordinary people and much, much better for himself and his rich friends.
That's great, thank you.